Hi there, my name is Dylan. We're going to be spending 8 lessons together looking at the introduction to functions. This first lesson is called Can You Do It? Now, because mathematics is part of our everyday lives, we're going to be looking at functions at a very practical level. Litter is a real problem in our country, and so the South African government and businesses support a number of projects to reduce waste. Everyone is being encouraged to recycle as much waste as possible. Not only is recycling beneficial to our country and the environment, but many people join recycling programs to make a bit of extra money. Now, in this lesson, we'll be looking at the recycling of cans as an example of how a knowledge of algebra and functions can help us plan. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to represent data in a table format and set up a formula to represent this data. You will also solve for a variable in an equation. I also hope that you will be encouraged to recycle waste. People typically recycle aluminium cool drink cans. And by the way, have you ever noticed the Please Recycle logo on the side of these cans? Now, the amount paid for aluminium cans varies from month to month, but recently the rate was R6.50 per kilogram. By the way, per kilogram means the same thing as for 1 kilogram or for each kilogram. Now, let's try and work out how much money we could earn by collecting these aluminium cans and selling them at the depot. And to begin with, we're going to start with a simple example where I'm going to be filling values into a table. Now, we are paid R6.50 per kilogram of cans collected. So how much would we be paid for 2 kilograms of cans? Well, in this case, we'd be paid R6.50 plus R6.50, which is a total of R13. What about for 3 kilograms of cans? How much would we be paid then? Well, we'd be paid R6.50 plus R6.50 plus another R6.50, which if you calculated the sum of those 3 figures, you'd get a total of R19.50. Now, think what you'd be paid for 4 kilograms of cans. If you thought the total was R26, you'd be absolutely correct. Now, an easy way of calculating this is to simply double the amount paid for 2 kilograms of cans. Now, we could continue to fill in a table like this for any number of kilograms, but to make our lives simpler, which is what maths is all about, we should look for a pattern. Do you see a relationship between the mass of cans collected and the amounts paid? For 1 kilogram, the amount paid is R6.50. For 2 kilograms, the amount paid is R6.50 plus R6.50. And for 3 kilograms, the amount paid is R6.50 plus R6.50 plus R6.50. What do you notice? Do you notice that the change is constant? From one mass to the next, the change is always R6.50. In this example, the amount paid is equal to the mass in kilograms multiplied by the price in rands per kilogram. Now, we need to take these words and change them into a formula so that we can work out the amount paid for any mass. We said that the amount paid by the depot for the cans is equal to the price per kilogram multiplied by the mass of cans. But we know that the price per kilogram is actually equal to R6.50. So in other words, the amount paid is equal to R6.50 multiplied by the mass of cans. Now, as you do this example with me, are you also becoming tired of writing out the phrases amount paid, price per kilograms, and mass? Surely there's a more concise way to write this. Remember that we can use letters or symbols to represent variables, and variables are nothing more than numbers that change. The word variable means that the value can vary or change. a letter or symbol is used to represent a variable. Now the trick is to identify the variables in any given situation. And in this example of people selling cans to a depot, I have identified two variables. The first variable is the mass in kilograms of the cans being sold. And the second variable, one that depends on this mass, is the amount that is paid for the cans. I choose the letter Y to represent the amount paid, and the mass in kilograms of cans collected is represented by the letter X. Now we can say that Y is equal to 6.50 Rand multiplied by X. In algebraic notation, I would write this as Y is equal to 6,5 X. Now in this formula, we multiply by 6.50 Rand. But remember, in the table we repeatedly added 6.50 Rand. And remember that multiplication is really the same as repeated addition. Now of course we can use any letters or symbols to represent variables. It's just that mathematicians most often use X and Y to represent variables. Now I want you to make note of these important points. Identify the variables in the example. Choose a letter or symbol to represent each variable. Describe in words what the letter or symbol represents. We used X and Y to represent the changing mass and changing amount of money in our formula. Now we can therefore substitute different values for these variables. Let's see how much I would be paid if I had collected 9 kilograms of cans. Now we know that the amount paid is equal to 6.50 Rand, and I'm just going to write it as 6,5 for now, multiplied by the mass of cans. And in this case, we know that X, or the mass of cans, is equal to 9 kilograms. So what I really want to find out is what Y equal to 6,5 multiplied by 9 is. Now instead of using a calculator for this, I'm going to use some simple arithmetic. I find it easier to multiply 6,5 by 10. So I'm going to think of 9 simply as 10 minus 1. So in other words, my equation becomes Y is equal to 6,5 multiplied by 10 minus 1. So therefore, Y is equal to 6,5 multiplied by 10 minus 6,5 multiplied by 1, which is equal to 65 minus 6,5, which is quite simple to do. The final answer I get is therefore Y is equal to 58,5, which remember is actually a rands value. So therefore Y is equal to 58 Rand and 50 cents. Now this means that if I sell 9 kilograms of cans, I will be paid 58 Rand and 50 cents. Now let's do another example. I need 100 Rand. How many kilograms of cans will I need to sell? In the previous example, I knew the number of kilograms and calculated the amount paid. In the next example, I need 100 Rand. How many kilograms of cans must I collect? Let's use the formula to calculate the number of kilograms. Again, we know that Y is equal to 6,5 X, and I need 100 Rand. So I know that Y is equal to 100. Therefore, my equation becomes 100 is equal to 6,5 X. To solve for X, or the mass, I must find a number that if I multiply it by 6,5, I get the answer of 100. So first, let's estimate. I'm going to choose a possible value of 10. Now remember, 6.5 lies between 6 and 7, so those are the two values I'm going to be testing with. Firstly, 6 times 10 is equal to 60. 7 times 10 is equal to 70. But that's too low. Remember, we're trying to get to an answer of 100. So let me try the value of 15. 6 times 15 is equal to 90, and 7 times 15 is equal to 105. Well, now I think that that is close enough to 100. That means that 6,5 times 15 will be a number between 90 and 105. So that means my value for x lies somewhere very close to 15. If 100 is equal to 6,5 multiplied by a number, then we can divide 100 by 6,5 to find that number. In other words, 100 divided by 6,5 is equal to x. Now we need to calculate the final answer for x. And remember, by estimation, we determined that this answer was very close to 15. Now, if I were to calculate 100 divided by 6,5 on the calculator, I'd get the following answer. I'd get, therefore, that x is equal to 15,38. Or, in other words, the mass of cans is equal to 15,38. At most, ordinary scales only measure accurately to whole kilograms. So I need to round my answer up to 16 whole kilograms. So that means I need to make sure that I have at least 16 kilograms of cans on my scale to be assured that I get my 100 Rand. Now it's time for you to do more calculations. Let's reflect on this lesson. Look for a pattern in the values. Use this pattern to define a formula and use the formula as an instruction for calculation. Now it's time for you to do more calculations. Imagine that there is a shortage of aluminium and that the depot is prepared to pay more per kilogram of aluminium cans. At the higher price, we receive 7.30 Rand per kilogram. Define variables for the amount paid and the mass. Set up a formula for amount paid. Calculate the amount paid for 20 kilograms of cans. Calculate how many kilograms of cans I must sell to receive 200 Rand. Think about what a dependent variable means. When we know the formula that relates two variables, we can calculate the value of one variable if we know the value of the other variable. I hope that you can now also work with formulae. Thank you very much for joining me for this lesson, and make sure to join me for the next lesson called Dependent or Independent.